Welcome back to Wargaming World Solo and to a new game, new period. We're going to play a game of Wargaming World Solo, Burma 1944. Picked up a new set of troops, both we've got Chindits and Japanese, and also on a really nice table from Greenfield Scenics, so thanks to Lawrence for that. So we'll put this together. It's a pretty sharp game, and see what you think. Really welcome your feedback, both on the YouTube channel and, of course, on Wargaming World Solo, the Facebook group. And if you aren't subscribed yet onto YouTube, then now's the time just to click and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the game. Right, so I've acquired a Japanese force. That's going to be the virtual U in this game, and also a Chindit force as well. I'm going to talk through how the game is going to be set up and how this force has got here, guided by Burmese locals. And I just want to mention that it's on this set, this tabletop, which I got some time ago from Greenfield Scenics, and it's really terrific. I really like getting this out, showing this off, and yeah, I'm going to do another game, perhaps a Vietnam War game shortly. Really terrific stuff, so thanks to Lawrence and everybody at Greenfield Scenics for the tabletop. I'll quickly talk you through the game. This is the focal point. It's the British forces are advancing to take these buildings. Now, they have been informed that there isn't any Japanese defending force here. They're behind enemy lines, and they're going in this area to pick up supplies. So they're still approaching cautiously, and we've got two sections advancing here, and there's also a commander with them, as well as a medic. And we'll see in the background there is also a Vickers machine gun. Should see that just in the middle. And then all the way back we've got the Burmese guides. Now, this is why they think there's no Japanese defending, and we've also got another British section here. So in total we've got 9 units. It's like a reconnaissance approach, and they are advancing, as I say, over towards these buildings. However, it isn't quite true that we don't have Japanese defenders. So you'll see that the virtual U, defending force, we've got 3 units in the building. We've got a machine gun team as part of what is a squad. So the rifles are just behind them, so that's the second unit. We've got 8 units in total. The third is over here. This is with the mortar section defending the area. And in turns 2 and 4 we will then see another squad appearing, but we'll have to roll to see whether they appear at that end of the board, or whether the units, as they've been out on patrol, will in actual fact appear at this end of the board. To show you as well, I always take an aerial view, a picture of the tabletop, and then work out not just the focal point but also the battle plans. So I had 3 originally for the Chindits, and this is the one I rolled. Similarly, this is the defending plan for the Japanese. And I don't know whether you do the same, but I then also separate out the army list. So I've got the British here, roll for the detail in terms of the troop quality, leadership, etc., and then characteristics. So this is what I've got for the British. So let's roll into the game, and then I'll explain as we go for the different Japanese units and features and characteristics. And I've already manoeuvred these figures as far as turn 1 is concerned, so I've completed my turn. And as I say, we've got sections moving here up on the right hand side. This one's slightly more open. It's then covered in terms of supports from this Vickers machine gun, and then we've got the remainder of the platoon. So we've got the third section. As I say, we have the Burmese guides here at the back. Now I've got 3 Japanese units, 2 here and the mortar team at the back. Let's see whether they pass their original test, whether they'll stay in a defensive mode. Machine gun team in the building is an 8. They're fine. Rifles behind them have a poor leader, so it's a 7, but they're still fine. Mortar team is a pretty ordinary unit at 7, but it has a good leader to take it to 8. And they're fine too. Before I see what they're about to do, just need to see if there is a random event with a 6, and there's not. Alright, so I'll just show you this at the start of the game for people who aren't familiar. Obviously there are a number of videos available just to see how to play, but this is chapter 14 and we're looking at the cautious unit. So it's the 3 we've just tested, and we can see the British advancing in the open, and therefore we're going to fire at them, unless of course I draw a joker, and then the unit will take extra cover. Certainly this unit in here with the machine gun will fire at the advancing British, unless of course I draw a joker, and it's a 5, so it'll fire. Alright, so I'm firing with the machine gun team. I'm firing out in the open at this unit, so it's the Bren team which are open really without any kind of cover. Standard is 8 of the unit, and it hits. The 6 impact, which is 2. Morale with that unit is 8, less 2 for casualties, or for the power of the hit makes a 6, but they make a 6 and therefore don't need to make any reaction. With the rifles, actually I'm going to move them into a better firing position. I need to draw a card to make sure it's not joker. There's a 5, that's fine. This is where they move to. I'm going to say that the mortar team is certainly alerted by this team and is able to fire, making sure that we don't have a joker. No, we don't. So it's this unit that's the target. I'm going to say it's in light cover, so rather than making it an 8, which is the original target, it's going to be a 7 to hit. A 7 or less, and it is a 7, so it is a hit. And there's 1 impact for soft cover 2, so just 1. Standard is 8, less 1 is 7, so 7 or less, and it is, so that unit is fine. At the end of turn 1, the British are alerted now that these buildings, at least the one in front, is occupied, and they've got a challenge now to see if they can get the supplies that they desperately need. Okay, so over to turn 2, and remember that when it comes to the phase of the Japanese, we will be getting another unit, so let's see how that goes. Turn 2, and how many actions can the British make? We've got 2 plus 1 from the command. Just need to roll to see if there is a random event. No, there isn't. And I've moved the rifle section into cover, and then I'm going to fire with the Bren team here, and then I've also got the Vickers machine gun for cover, so I'm going to fire with both of those at the machine gun unit that's in the building, which is going to get soft cover. First of all, the Bren team, see if they hit. Yes, they do. And the Vickers, which is a heavy machine gun, so to benefit, that is a miss. Impact, -1 for soft cover, so it's only 1. Morale of the unit is an 8, -1 is 7, and but that is an 8, so that is an impact. Now, I'm not going to say the unit need to move outside the building, but I am going to say that they can't fire in their phase. But as they've taken casualties, I do need to see whether the leader of that unit was hit. No, he wasn't. Now it's turn 2, so we've got other Japanese units coming in, whether it's on the right hand side here or whether it's over on the left hand side. I'll just roll 1, 2, 3, it's over here on the left. Yes, it is. Okay, I've got 2 Japanese units coming in here. Got the rifles and light machine gun. They're going to do nothing in this actual phase because they've moved in, but that's where they finish. And importantly, they are very close to this British unit here. I'm just going to test the units in terms of whether their approach will remain the same. So the first unit, this one here, will be defensive. Remember, it's not going to fire in this phase, so it can get itself back into position. Rifles behind it, will they stay cautious? Yes, they will. And the mortar team They're fine too. To test whether there will be a random event. No, there isn't. I think the rifle team in here are going to fire at the British unit, which is just advancing here. I'm going to say that these certainly are in soft cover. Draw a card before I do, just anything other than a joker. It's a 4, that's fine. Firing at the British rifles is a hit. 1d6 -1 is going to be just 1. Just rifles. And 9 is a leader or a specialist hit in no, there isn't. It was a 4. Nevertheless, he soon pulls back into cover. I'm going to say the mortar team can fire into the same general area it fired beforehand, as long as we don't get a joker. And it's not, it's a queen. This rifle unit is the target. It's a hit in light cover. -1, that's a 1. Go with that is a 7, it's fine. Well, the end of the second turn and the British units haven't really gone anywhere, and now, as we will begin to see, is the fact that they've got enemy advancing from both sides of the table. So let's see what the consequence of that is in turn 3. Now, the units that can operate, that's a good one. 6 +1 will be if I use the command. Is there a random event? No, there isn't. Right, I can't move the rifle team. I have moved the Bren team, which is part of that section. Taken a risk and moved this rifle team 2, and then I've moved also the Bren team with it, so I've had 3 movements, and I'm then also going to fire with the Vickers machine gun and the Bren team here at the building, and I'm also going to combine the fire. So there's only one morale test, but it's combining the impact. So fire with the machine gun with the heavy machine gun. That's going to be a miss. Bren team. That's a miss also. Okay, I'm going to test the 5 units now that are for the Japanese. First of all, on the far left-hand side, the rifle team, which is a 9. Do they stay in their defensive mode? Yes, they do. Unit next to them is an 8. Yes, they're... no, they're wrong. Let's have a look and see what happens to them. 1, 2, 3, they go from cautious to measured. They go bold, which means the rifle team can operate, but this team, the machine gun team, can't in this phase. Unit in the building, 8 I think is fine. Rifles behind, well, they're fine. The mortar team, no, that's a fail. 1, 2, 3 measured. Nope, they also go temporarily bold. Is there a random event? No, there isn't. I'm going to see if I can move this unit forward. Test the card 3, that's fine. Unit advance. This unit's going to fire. Pending the card, that's fine. 8 to hit, but it's a miss. Rifles behind it need a 7. And the card's fine, 7 or less to hit. It's just a miss. So at the end of the third turn, the British continue to advance for their objective. Mostly going towards this building, see if they can get some cover. However, if we go over to the left-hand side, there is a British unit in here, but a Japanese unit is advancing over here on the left-hand side, and may well detect the British here. They'll certainly have been hearing, or they'll certainly have heard the firing, but we'll see whether they get connected in the next turn, which in turn 4 we'll also see more Japanese units arriving either side of the board. Okay, turn 4, I got a 6 with a roll, and it means I could ultimately do 7 actions using the command 2, but as it is, I've moved 3 sections. Rifles up behind that cover, rifle section behind it, and its Bren team has also moved. I'm going to fire with this Bren team at the building, and then I'm also going to fire again with this concentrated fire with the Vickers and the Bren team there, and because it's going to be the second time I'm firing at it, it's going to be +1 to hit. So the heavy machine gun That's a hit. Ren team firing with it, and that's also a hit. So a combined impact. It's a -1 because it's a soft cover, but a +1 for the heavy weapon for the Vickers, and that's going to be the blue dice. Let's work out the impact of that. So it's effectively 4 from the red dice and 2 from the blue, so 6 in total. So the morale is 8 less 6. How far above that? Quite some way, so we're 6 above there. I was firing at the same target, however, with this one, which is also a hit. So it's this -1, which is 4. So 8 minus 4 is 4. So that was just going to be a 1, so it would have had to have moved back, but 6 is greater in terms of its impact. Well, that's a full move out of the building. I'm going to say that they can do because they can get out the windows, but I also need to see whether there was any leaders impacted. If you remember, there were 2. It happened twice. 2 is nothing. But that's a joker. So a leader is killed. If you remember, so there was 2 firings. One was from the heavy machine gun and the Bren. We drew a 2, so a leader wasn't hit, but they were hit again with the other Bren, and a joker means that the leader is killed in that unit. And so with that joker, the troop is regular, which it is, and so its morale drops down to 7. Right, so success for the British there in that phase. Over to the virtual U. First of all, remember we've got the remaining units for the Japanese. 1, 2, 3 on the left-hand side. Yes, it is. Right, the Japanese are absolutely streaming forward now. We've got 2 full squads and also a medium machine gun team. All here on the left-hand side, and we're going to see, I think, a game almost turning on its head, where they're now going to advance towards this unsuspecting British unit here, and then perhaps we might end up with the British defending the buildings they're trying to take, and the game turns completely the other way around. Let's just see if there's a random event. No, well, what I was expecting to happen is that this large Japanese units would advance, but in actual fact almost every unit has failed in terms of their approach. So I've replaced some of the dice, by the way. If they're red, it'll be because they are defensive. Blue for measured, and green they will have gone bold, or that they're supposed to be bold. So what in actual fact is happening is that we've just got this Japanese rifle section moving forward, and all of the remainder have failed their tests and therefore will need to retest in the next turn. So what that effectively means, as far as the game is concerned, is that the Japanese units have remained here on the left-hand side and have not advanced towards the British over here. Further along, the 2 green dice indicate that both of these units have failed and have now gone temporarily bold. And finally, the unit which had gone temporarily bold passed its test in order to go back to cautious, but it means it can't do anything in this turn. So rather than the Japanese counter-attacking or squeezing the British into this area, nothing's really happened, and so it's over to the next turn. Got these black and white dice. I'm going to use the white dice for mine, black for the Japanese moving forward. And for my phase, I've got 4 plus 1 for the commander if I want to use it. Check if there is a random event. Oh, yes, there is. All right, so what card have I got? Is a 5. That says bad rations. Random, a unit can't move this turn. Right, I've got 6 units in here. I've got 2 rifles, 2 Bren, a commander and a medic. 1 the commander, 2 the medic, 3 will be A section. So that's A section, so we've got rifles and machine guns, so we'll say the Bren can't move in this of A section. Now that unit's going to be inactive, but I'm going to also say that that costs them a command, trying to deal with their indigestion. So down to 3 commands plus 1 for the commander. So this unit has moved forward towards the building. I've got the rifle section moving forward, well, the rifle team I should say rather than section, moving forward there with the Bren as well, so it is the whole section. And I've got a medic. I'm using that figure, the one lying down, as the medic here. And the commander has also moved with the advancing unit, so that means that's the end of the turn for the British. Over to the Japanese. Okay, so I've done this off camera, and so what's happening is that the Japanese are advancing slowly, so they are cautious units, so I guess that makes some sense. We have a full squad here. Both the machine gun and the rifles are advancing slowly, and we have another rifle team from a different squad. Differential between a squad and a section, between squad for the Japanese, section for the British. So the rifles are moving here. Now there's a light machine gun team that should be with them, and it had gone temporarily bold, but now it has gone back to cautious. The unit, which is a medium machine gun, has gone back to cautious also, so they can operate in the next phase if they pass their test. The other side, the unit which had moved away from the building, or routed from the building, has gone back to its normal cautious measurement, and this one, however, has remained bold, so it'll stay bold into the next turn. This unit is had been tested and stayed as cautious, and therefore can fire, so it's the only unit that is going to be firing. If we don't draw a joker, it'll fire. This unit will be the target, and that's a hit. 1 dice damage. 6, that's effective. Morale's 8, less 6 is 2, so I think we're going above that. We certainly are. We've gone above by 6. And has the unit lost a leader? No, it hasn't, not with a jack. Well, that's really significant, because that means that the unit has to move directly away from where the firing has come from. It does so 6 inches away from that building that it was about to take, and as it happens, it means it's going to be retreating straight towards the advancing Japanese. Okay, new turn, and with the unit retreating, that's not a great situation. How many activities? 5 + 1 for the command. Is there a random event? No, there isn't. Can't do anything with these units over here. There's no firing, and I'm going to say that the Japanese are undetected thus far for them. I can't move that unit, so I have moved forward the rifle team of what is B section, and the Bren team of A section. Move those forward. I've moved the medic forward and the command, so that is 4 activities in total. And then I'm going to fire with the Bren team of B section and fire over at the Japanese in that sort of chicken hut. Okay, and a 7's a hit. Now the unit is in soft cover. It was -1's a hit, but the skill is 8 on the machine gun team. So it's going to be a 1d6 -1 for the impact. And it's 2 as an impact. The morale of the unit is 7, -2 is 5, but they're fine. So that's where we finish. So the 2 British sections advancing, along with the medic and the commander, towards this building. One on the left hand side obviously had been hit by the mortar and had retreated, but over to the Japanese, where this unit is still in play, and indeed the mortar, and we'll see whether the unit on the left hand side will appear. Now, just before I go on to the Japanese turn, I've made an error with this unit, or at least I haven't utilised on their characteristics. So if you remember, they lost a leader. I should have looked at this one, which is the character table. I've drawn a king for them, line live, so ignore leader casualties this turn. So therefore it means we'll use that card and their morale will be at 8. I don't think that it would have made a great deal of difference, because the unit is moving out away from that building, but it's always good to double check. Okay, let me explain what's happened here. I've done this off camera, and actually I'll take this unit first of all. The rifle team and its machine gun behind it have gone measured, so they can't operate in this phase, and then we'll have to retest in the next phase. The squad here, which is the rifles and machine gun, have advanced fine. I haven't drawn any cards for this because they haven't been engaged by any of the British so far. They'll have heard the mortar firing and machine guns, etc., so they've advanced cautiously, understandably supported behind it by a medium machine gun. So they've advanced to this point. Now, for the game moving forward, we've now got them very close to the British, and indeed the British will be able to see them if they turn around. I'll mention that I did test for a random event which didn't happen. So the rifle team here failed, so therefore it can't act in this phase, and indeed so did the machine gun team. One has gone measured, and with the that red dice it has gone temporarily cautious. One which did pass and is therefore going to fire if I draw a card is the mortar team, which passed again, and we'll now do firing. Now I need to draw a card, just making sure that they can fire. The reason for that is, remember, it's the virtual U. I can't determine everything that they do, but they're firing at an enemy in the open, so just as long as we don't draw a joker, it's a jack. A joker would say that they move into cover. I'm going to say this is the new target, but it's at the same area, so I'm going to give the mortar team a +1, effectively just to land the mortar in exactly the same spot they did last time. With a 3 they certainly do. The impact was a 6. The leadership is 9, less 6 is a 3. How far above 3? Just 2, so it just needs to retire. So I'll move the unit back here. The significance of that is that even though they're only retiring, the unit has to move back. So I haven't been able to take that building, and with both of these units doing the same type of thing, trying to get actually to occupy the building seems to be a major issue. But both for the Japanese too, they failed their tests as well. So that's the end of the turn. Over to the next. Turn 7. Now this unit, the one that's just been hit, can't move, but the one next to it can. And the Japanese virtual U weren't able to capitalize last turn because both of those units failed in terms of their approach. So that building's still out there. I just need to see how many commands I can undertake. 3 + 1 for the command. Let's test if there is a random event. No, there isn't. Right, so I have moved the Bren team and the rifle team now of A section. I've moved the medic with them, so they're approaching into this building. I'm going to fire for the second time with the Bren team, firing at the Japanese in this soft cover. 7, that's a hit. 1d6 -1 for the soft cover, and it's only a 1, so I'm going to say it's nothing. That's the end of the British turn. Okay, so some really significant stuff happening. In terms of this squad, the machine gun team at the back went temporarily cautious. The rifles at the start have gone measured permanently. They can't operate in this phase, but that is what's happening to them. However, the significance are these 3. So in terms of the actual squad itself, rifles and machine guns can operate, as can the machine gun behind it. On the right hand side, the mortar team again passed, so it will fire, but these 2 units failed. This has gone back to bold and the other back to cautious, but they can't operate, they can't go into the actual building itself. The significance, however, is that these units, in particular the machine gun team at the front, has a direct line of sight over to the advancing British, so they can fire if they wish. And in addition, I rolled for a random event, and there will be one. So the random event is this. It's a jack, and at the random event with a jack, the glint of the sun exposes the enemy, so it's a +1 to hit with a selected unit. And so, just to add, I think the logic of this is that the machine gun team is going to fire, so I'm going to do that in a second. However, the rifle team the options would be, if we drew a card, a joker would mean it goes into cover. Everything else means it would fire, but there's no way it can fire at the moment because it's just in this this column. So I think logically it would be moving towards this area. I also think that the machine gun team at the back would be trying to move in towards this area as well to get a position of being able to fire. So I'm going to move the units and see what happens. So with movement coming before firing, I've moved the Japanese into an area I think they would move into naturally. They haven't charged or anything like that, and lo and behold, there is the start of a British unit here. So I think there's going to be some melee in a second. I'm going to also look to fire with this machine gun team here. If I take a natural line across, you can see the British at the other side there. It's 30 inches away, so it's in range, and so we're going to fire there. If you remember, I need to draw a card. 2 is fine. This unit is firing. Its morale is 8, so it's half effect in terms of its impact because it's extreme range. Remember the glint of the sun, so it's a +1 to hit, so effectively a 9, but a 10 is a miss. So I'm going to fire with that mortar. Unless I get a joker, it's a king. Same target area, so it would only be in 8. I'm going to make it a 7 because it's the same area we're dropping this mortar into. Oh, but that's significant. That's a miss too. Alright, so for the first time the British are going to be able to advance into the next phase in here, even though they've started to being fired at from 2 different positions. Now, Japanese morale standard is a 9 to the British 8 on here. However, in terms of characteristics, there's nothing that's going to benefit for the Japanese, because its card is with regards to its movement. However, it is for the British. They have it's a 5, and the 5 on that card means that it can have 1 free action. So as a result of that, the British are going to be able to fight twice. So there's no to hit when it comes to fighting, it is just the impact. So the 2 dice is going to be the British. So British is a 6, Japanese 2. Now the Japanese morale is 9, impact was 6, so 3 is where we are. How above 3 have we got? So 3, which means it just retires. Impact on the British was 2, its morale is 8 down to 6. 6, and so it also retires. So effectively what happens is that the units have run into each other, made an impact, both of them have frightened each other in somewhat, and we'll need to slightly withdraw the British into this area and the Japanese back towards where they came from. I don't remove figures, and it just means that they'll have to reposition themselves and see how we go into the next turn. But what we do need to do is to see if any leaders have been killed in the action. Let's test Japanese. Queen, no, nothing's happened there. And for my unit, we got hit. Joker. Right, and that means that the leader, or the NCO or what have you in that particular squad has been killed. This is where they finished. Now it does make a difference because the British units are now down to 7 in terms of its morale standard. And I'll just add that neither the British nor the Japanese rifle teams there can attack in the next phase. Turn 8. How many actions? I've got 5 plus 1 for the command. Random event? Oh, yes, there is. Okay, so what's happening is a 9. 9 is Dad's army. A unit finds a relative in ranks plus 1 to morale standard in this turn. I'll use the morale element in a moment, but I've moved these 2 units so they've turned around to actually face the Japanese. We can't fire. They're in difficult terrain, so we've got that Vickers machine gun and the Bren team. And up here I've moved 2 units into the building, so the machine gun team, the Bren team, is in, as are the rifles. And because the rifle section rifle team came under fire, I'm going to allow them to turn and return fire. So that's another action, so that's 5. And 6, the Bren team is going to fire again at that unit in soft cover. Now I'm going to roll and see which one's got a relative. So 1, 2, 3 is the Bren team. No, it's the rifles. So I've got these rifles here, and the skill is 8, but also on their characteristics is a card of a 6. So you get a great voice, you can have a free action. So I'm going to say that we've had a +1 in terms of this Dad's Army, so we've got an 8. I'm going to say they're going to be able to fire twice. This is the target, and I'm going to say it's in soft cover. So we would normally be an 8 +1 in terms of the morale, but it's also in soft cover. So effectively 8's to hit, but we can try twice. So first is a miss. Second is another miss. Not about Dad's Army, but it must have been Pike who was doing the shooting. So that leaves us just with this Bren team. Well, that is a hit. 1d6 -1 for soft cover is just the 1. His morale is 7, -1 is 6, and they are fine. Right, it's hard to explain here, but the everything's gone to chaos. The unit identified with red was the one that was fighting, so therefore it can't act in this phase. It passed its test, but it can't operate in terms of the consequence of fighting. The machine gun next to it has gone temporarily measured, and therefore it can't operate, and the machine gun behind it also has gone temporarily measured. And then the unit over here has gone temporarily bold, and the one behind it measured. Effectively what I'm saying is that as a consequence of the fighting, it would appear that the Japanese unit is not awfully keen to advance, and as a consequence of that it will stay pretty still in this phase, and indeed next as it'll do its retests. I'll mention that there is no random event. Over here the mortar team passed again, and it can operate, and indeed these two units can operate, one being bold and the other being cautious. So let's have a look in the book about what options are available to them. So we've got this bold unit here next to the British who have advanced into that particular building. They are bold, so if you went to, go to the bold table, the enemy is in cover. It doesn't outclass the unit, although it does have a machine gun. So I'm going to say probably it's just an enemy in cover. We draw cards, and you can see there are two options. I can either advance towards it, but I'm more or less up against it, up against that building. So a better option would be to fire at close range. And firing at close range essentially means chucking grenades through the window, things like that. So we'll try and do that unless I draw a card and get a joker, which means they would take cover. Now with the cautious unit instead, what it'll do, it wouldn't look to try and advance and go towards it, but because the building is so close, if we look at the table, a cautious unit, so a cautious unit where the enemy is in cover, will fire at any range. But if I draw a picture card rather than a joker, a picture, or indeed a joker, then I would either take cover if it was a picture card, or indeed I'd join a friendly unit. So what will happen is, if I draw a joker for that machine gun team, it would go behind that building over here. So let's draw some cards and see what we do. So that machine gun team, remember, if it's a number card, we'll just fire at the building, and that's exactly what it is. We would have firing 2 from the rifle team if it's anything but a joker, and it's a jack, so that's fine. Last thing to test is the mortar, so effectively that's going to fire 2 if we get anything other than a joker. We've got a 10, so they're fine as well. Now I've just got to be sensible here. There's nothing in the book that gives me what exactly works here, but I'm going to say that we've got the Bren team on this window nearest, and so for that unit they're going to fire onto the Bren team, and then that machine gun team, the light machine gun, is going to fire at the rifles, which is further at the back. The MG team is an 8. We're in soft cover, so it's a 7, and a 7's a hit. Let's just see if we hit again with the rifles. Well, the rifles is a miss. So the British rifles have been hit. It's 1d6 -1, so it's 2. I'm going to deploy a card as well here, so it's a 2 is the characteristic for this unit, so it's good humour, +1 for any morale standard test, so therefore effectively it's just a -1, so it's going to be a 7 for the morale. So we're working on a 7 and a double 1, they were absolutely fine. So both these units are very secure here. Just now some mortar fire. I'm going to say the mortar is firing at this unit behind this sort of soft cover area, but I'm not going to give it a -1, so it's still an 8 to hit. And that is a hit. 1d6 of damage, 3 the damage, but the morale I think is 8, so less 3 is 5, should be fine. And that unit is fine, and that is the end of the turn. So I'm going to stand back a little bit, end of that turn, and look at it and see that the British now have taken the building. They've taken an objective that they wanted. Can they hold it against the 2 Japanese units outside? Still got that mortar firing effectively. Mortar on the right hand side there, and harassing this unit here. The British B section is holding this position, and if we move over to the left hand side we'll see a different part of the game. Over here, C section plus the Burma guides and the Vickers machine gun are holding this particular position, and can they hold it against larger numbers of the Japanese advancing? The only problem for the Japanese is that in terms of their keenness to get into action, there's limitations with the approach with regular failings there, and whether they're able to come and attack this British position, we'll have to wait and see in turn 9 and onwards. Right, it's the start of a new turn, and one of the major problems for the Japanese has been the fact that it's been a bottleneck trying to get up through here. I know they haven't rolled well for the virtual U also, but on reflection I should have brought perhaps the second unit alongside with the river and move this space. But anyway, that's the way the game has gone thus far, and we'll see what happens in this turn. See how many commands. 4 plus 1 for the commander gives me 5. A random event. Oh yes, there is. A draw. It's a 3. So there's a brew up, and one particular unit will get a +1 to its morale standard this phase. Work that out by ABC section. So it's going to be, so it's A section. Rifle. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is. +1 to the morale standard of this unit in here. They must have got into the building and had something to eat. What I'm going to do with the units is that I'm going to fire, starting with the Bren team firing here. I'm going to fire at the rifle team that's right in front of it. 7 to hit, target's in soft cover, so it's going to be a 6. It's going to be a hit though. 1d6 minus 1 is 5. Morale is 9 less 5 gives 4 and 7, so that unit must retire. Now I'm going to have to do something sensible here. This unit is supposed to retire, but it's all backed up with units behind it. But I don't at this stage think that it is going to you know, rout, etc. So I'm going to have to think about something else. Now, this unit is going to fire at the rifle team, so let's see if it hits before I work out what I do. It is a hit. Now it's extreme range, so it's half effect, and indeed it's in soft cover. So let's just see what the output of this is. So therefore that will be a 2 less 1 for the soft cover, so that's a 1. Right, well where we were is that it was 3 over for its for the impact. I've just added another 1, so that would take us to 4. The 4 would mean that it still retires, so it's not really a morale thing issue. It's not going to be fired at by somebody else, but certainly it would be looking to move out of the way. I think generally this whole movement for the Japanese is getting pretty stuck. I'm going to do the rest of the British turn, but I might call it here, so bear with me and see how we go. Right, I've got a Bren team here firing again at this unit. That's a hit. And the impact, I'm going to say they're still in soft cover, so it's a 3. It's a 7 for its morale. Less 3 gives us a 4, and therefore it's 5, so that unit will need to retire. This is where that unit gets to, and that means I'm going to concentrate the fire from the Bren team and the rifles all onto that unit and only do 1 morale test as a consequence. Bren team fires, and that's a hit. Rifles, we've also got that improved morale, they definitely hit. The impact of that is 2d6, so it's 5, down to 3, 4 above. Right, so as the Japanese units are moving back, it means they can't do anything in the next phase, in their own phase, and in reality it's going to take a huge effort to try and dislodge the British from this building. So I'm going to call it and say that it is a British victory, and that they're going to hold the buildings in terms of that's what their objective was, and that's what they've taken. I recognise that I've created a problem at this end in terms of a bottleneck. It's only one way through, when the reality is they're going to be fired at from lots of different angles. In terms of the British Bren team here, there's a Vickers machine gun, and indeed over this open space there is a rifle section as well. So I don't really see a great deal of opportunity for the Japanese, so I just think what they'll do is pull back. I haven't taken many casualties, and then perhaps go again. In terms of the game itself, I could have had it where, depending on how they rolled, the Japanese could have come from this end, and the British would have been exposed at that point with less troops. But unfortunately for the Japanese, that isn't the way that it went, and indeed for the virtual U. So I'm going to say that is the end of the game, and it's a good one to play, and certainly on this table. Thanks again to Lawrence and everybody at Greenfield Scenics, where this tabletop comes from, and really nicely put together. And thanks very much to you. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who's now playing Wargaming World Solo. All the great feedback that I get, both on the YouTube channel and indeed on the Wargaming World Solo Facebook group. You can also check out the website, so www.wargamingworld.net. Have a look on that. Lots of all other videos of different games that have been played. I'm going to have a look here. I might well play a Vietnam War game next on this table, or perhaps an ancient game. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. But thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.